Thanks, Chrissy. Day 3, middle of the day. Hopefully we've not got too much presentation fatigue. We're going to talk to you, as Chrissy said, about helium, which is obviously quite different to most of what you've heard over the last couple of days. But hopefully I can convince you on the value proposition that exists here. I'll let you all read that. So, why helium? What's important about helium? Who's got a mobile phone? Pretty much everybody, right? So you're all helium users. You just didn't realise it. Helium's important, very, very important industrial gas, not just party balloons. It's used in MRI machines in hospitals, and I'm sure all of us, including myself, are unfortunate enough to have used an MRI machine. It's used in rocket launches. You'd be surprised to know that already in 2024, SpaceX have had 48 rocket launches. NASA a similar number, and there's a few other companies as well. Very important in that process. Specialty welding, lifting, etc. But the really big driver is what's in your mobile phone. It's that semiconductor, that chip, and it's an irreplaceable component in making that. Currently, the market size is about $5 billion US, that's the wholesale market, predicted to grow to about $8 billion by 2030, so plenty of scope for us to fit into that. This is probably one of the things that got me really excited and interested in getting involved in this story. As Chrissy was saying, the price. Right now in Queensland or in Australia, we've got a $12 gas cap for domestic gas. Helium currently sells for about 690 odd Australian dollars per MCF. And the good thing is that the costs to find and produce it are pretty much the same as they are for conventional gas. So you can imagine that gives you quite a significant amount of leverage in terms of the size of what you need to find, and the value proposition that you can deliver. Tanzania, why Tanzania? So helium is very rare. 95% of the world's helium today is produced as a byproduct of natural gas production, and it's been found accidentally through that exploration process. So for example, Qatar account for about 30% of the world's helium supply. It's 0.3% of the gas stream. And as it gets processed through the LNG terminals, that waste gas that comes out concentrates the helium to a point where they can then separately extract it and sell it. So you can see that there's a real need for what we're looking for here, which is not associated with hydrocarbons. So helium's curated through the radioactive decay of uraniums and thoriums in the crust. And uranium has about a 4 billion year half-life, so you need crust that's old, so you've had a chance to generate a significant inventory of helium. And so you've got the Tanzanian craton sitting right there in the middle of Tanzania, and it's basically 2 to 3 billion years old, so it's the right age, and it's generated a significant inventory of helium. But what's unique is that it's then been caught up in the East African rift system, which extends up through Tanzania into Uganda and Kenya. And while the geologists will tell you this is an active system that's happening right now, they kind of mean over the last sort of 500 to a billion years, but all of that tectonic activity, upthrusting, heating, etc., has then liberated that helium inventory from that old rock, and it's been able to migrate out into the surrounding geology, which is young neogene sandstone reservoirs. And that's a pretty important component, because a lot of the helium that people have been finding recently is still locked up in that old rock, and so there's some significant issues in terms of being able to flow that commercially. Tanzania itself is a great environment to work in. In fact, I've been talking to quite a lot of people this week about all of the challenges that exist currently in Australia around permitting and environmental approvals. Not to say they don't have robust processes, they certainly do, but they're much more transparent and straightforward, and the government's certainly very welcoming. Landowners want you there. It's a great environment to work in, very safe. We've been there for about 8 years and never had any issues at all. So a great place to do business. So specifically then in respect of Noble, where are we at? We drilled 2 exploration wells at the end of last year. The very first well we drilled, pretty much on the first day of drilling, we encountered a free gas cap at the top of that structure, and that's the focus of our activity sort of going forward now. We've been doing a lot of work to try and define that. and it's about 9 kilometres by 3 or 4 kilometres. It's about a 20-metre thick column that exists there, and certainly sits within, as I said, this young Neogene sandstone, very high porosity and permeability, so very high flow potential. We've been doing quite a bit of modelling work around that, and certainly can see high commercial potential there. The structure itself is completely onshore beside the lake, so very flat, easy. It's basically farmland that we're working in there, so it'd be quite a simple development. And broadly, just to kind of give you a bit of perspective to it, if there was a BCF of recoverable helium there, which is highly likely that's the case, that's still $600 or $700 million worth of helium at the current wholesale price today. So just to, I guess, give you a little bit more detail in terms of why we want to go back and test this and why we think there's a free gas column there. Basically, as the drilling process goes on, we have a gas chromatograph that sits up at the top of the rig, and as the mud returns, we measure the helium that goes along. So that black dotted line that you can see there is basically what you would normally expect at atmospheric conditions, and then the blue spikes that you see to the right, sort of starting at about 75 metres or so, were the big helium spikes that we saw as we went down through there. And you can see that sort of continues on, and through both wells we saw lots and lots of helium evidence. Unfortunately, in the deeper sections, we didn't see the big free gas accumulation that we were hoping to see, but certainly this is a good place for us to start. And so, I guess as I was saying before, and the speaker before me outlined the same thing, there's a number of factors that are important in terms of being able to commercialise. Helium concentration, so we saw 2.5% helium, which is very high from a helium perspective. In the US, the cut-off's 0.3%. Obviously, reservoir that's going to flow, and probably if I was going to make a choice, I'd rather have lower helium percentage and high flow reservoir. Easy land access, which we have here, a very supportive regulatory environment and a government that wants us to be there and are very encouraging. And we're in negotiations with an offtake partner who are offering to fund the downstream capex, so the separation and liquefaction component of the development, and then buy the gas office, and we'll repay them the cost of that through some tolling arrangement as we sell them the gas. So all the elements exist. And while Nbalele and the gas cap is our short-term objective, and we want to monetise that, it's really just the start of the story here. So you can see our 2 wells that we've drilled up there on the left-hand side, and then down in the bottom right-hand corner there's an AIM-listed company called Helium One who have drilled. They're deeper down into the Karoo sections, which we haven't explored yet. 4.7% helium. There's a hot spring not far from where they're located, 6.9% helium. So we're in a prolific helium producing system. This is unique. This doesn't exist in other places in the world. And we've got a whole bunch of other targets, and we're currently in the process of working up those targets to get them ready to drill down the track. And most likely we'll try and find a partner to come and help us do that in the future. So activity for the rest of this year and things to look out for. As I say, we're going to go back and test the gas cap. It's going to be a very low cost exercise. The exploration wells were expensive, about $15 million each. Significant component of that was the testing equipment and Schlumberger services on site, which we won't need in the flow test that we're going to do now. And of course, when you're drilling in a brand new basin for the first time, you've got to go in all guns blazing with all of the equipment and everything that you need to deal with potential high pressure situations, methane, etc., etc. And now that we've drilled these 2 wells and have a much better understanding of the geology, we don't need that. We're contracting with a local drilling company to do this work for us, and my best estimate right at this moment is this will all be done for less than $1 million. Obviously, we're going to continue to talk to the off-takers. Hopefully, we get the data we need out of these flow tests, work with those guys so that by the end of the year, we've pulled everything together, done the engineering, they've gotten the approvals they need to get, so we can pull the trigger on starting to deliver that project. It'll take about 12 to 18 months for it to all be manufactured and get on site and be up and running. Obviously, maturing those additional deeper targets that I talked about, and start to do some work on our other basins that we've got licensing on, which you can see on the map there, where there's a number of relatively straightforward, low-cost activities that we can get after there to start to enhance some of the value that exists there. I just want to touch on, we currently have a share purchase plan that's open, closes tomorrow. I guess I tried to create an opportunity for retail investors who were continually complaining to me that we raised all our money through placements and they didn't get an opportunity, so that was part of the driver for that. We didn't need the money for our appraisal work, but we did want to try and start advancing some of the other activities and adding some value on the other permits, chasing a few other things as well. So that certainly was the objective for that. But ultimately, it's nice to have, not critical to our future going forward. As I say, we've got the funding to do all the real value-adding stuff in the short term, which is the appraisal work. So in the event that's not fully taken up, we'll just curtail a few of those other activities, but obviously keep focused on the appraisal work. Like everyone else, I'm certainly proud of the team that we've got. My history with Arrow Energy, and one of the things that really attracted me to this business was the similarities that I saw from the early days at Arrow, when no one was interested in coal seam gas. It was a bit of a novelty, and we had a significant first mover advantage, similar to what we've got here with Noble, in a market that's booming. It's really crying out for this resource. And so, yeah, lots of similarities here that I see, and I just hope it doesn't take 10 years to become an overnight success like we did with Arrow. Justin has a deep history in the East African Rift System. As the founder of the business, made the first big oil discoveries for Hardman Resources in Uganda, and so he's definitely got a significant amount of expertise. Professor Garnett has just retired, fortunately for us, from the UQ Centre for Natural Gas, and he's been helping us greatly as an ex-Schlumberger Shell executive. He's got a huge amount of knowledge and has been very, very helpful. Eddie's one of our money men based in Melbourne, and Greg Columbus. Greg's really helpful, certainly in terms of the negotiations with the offtake parties and the equipment side of things, and that's really his bread and butter. And just to mention Kent Masters, so Kent's the current president and CEO of Albemarle, who's, I guess, relevant to a lot of the people that are here. They're a very big lithium company in the US, and he's an ex-Linde executive who used to work in the helium space, and he's been a big supporter and was one of the original investors in the business. And between the board members and the founders, we hold about a little bit over 30% of the company, and all of the shares that I've got and the other directors have got, we've purchased ourselves. So just to summarise, I think this is a ground floor investment opportunity into something that has the potential to be a very significant resource in a very, very important part of the industry in the world. I think we're in the right place. Tanzania is just absolutely unique geology for helium, and the evidence that we're slowly gathering is proving that. And of course, as someone else said before, ultimately it's all good to find it, but being able to turn it into money is the key thing, and we're well down that path now as well. So thanks very much.